Ninjas, robots, and furries, oh my! Gundam Build Divers returns for another ridiculous episode, which I have to be perfectly honest, was not exactly my cup of tea. This is probably my least favorite episode of the series thus far, and that's because almost really nothing happened. This episode is essentially a straight introduction to two of the brand new characters who are going to be appearing in this season. One of them I'm very excited about. The ninja girl, Ayame, officially makes her presence known in this episode right here. We're also introduced to Shahryar, who is apparently the greatest builder in all of GBN. And it's very obvious who he is at the beginning of this episode, despite the fact that they try to keep it very mysterious. But what's the story in this week's episode of Gundam Build Divers? In the last episode, we got to see that Riku and his friends traveled to a land which was heavily themed by Asian culture. Juxtaposed to that, we're going to be going to a land which is heavily influenced by the Middle East, in particular, Persia. In fact, the name of this place is Parisia, and it's a place where all of these Gunpla battlers can come together to show off their mecha. Not to necessarily fight, but to show how good their building skills are. And the main reason, of course, that you don't want to have any big Gunpla battles out in the middle of the desert is because sand is going to get into the joints, and it's going to make it so that your Gunpla cannot move. I mean, let's face it, guys, sand sucks. It's coarse, it's rough, and it gets everywhere. When Riku and his friends arrive, they're greeted by all sorts of citizens, and they even learn about this individual by the name of Shahryar, who is a renowned builder, who supposedly is going to be showing off his brand new Gunpla in town that day, something that they're all really excited to see. Unfortunately for them, Shahryar does not show up to show off his Gunpla. It's actually two con artists who are basically just trying to trick everyone. And they end up getting called out not just by Riku, but from Ayame as well, and they decide to skip town. But before they do that, they actually decide to kidnap Ayame and even go as far as to bring her outside of town and even tie her up, which I'll get to more of this later, but it's kind of stupid when you think about how this actually happens in a virtual world. There really aren't any stakes here. This girl has no reason to be afraid, but whatever, we need some form of conflict in order to see a Gunpla battle in this episode. And really, it's all just a build-up to actually seeing Shahryar use his Gunpla, which is a variant of the Seravee Gundam, which was seen in Gundam 00, in particular, the second season. And I have to admit, it looks all sorts of incredible. You actually get to see a tease for it in the intro of the show, which also reveals the actual Shahryar, which is this man who is half man, half some sort of furry creature, I'm guessing a wolf, and he believes that all Gunpla should have a certain amount of beauty to them. They should be an expression of the philosophical beliefs of anyone who actually builds it. It's very similar to Maggie's outlook on what it means to be a Gunpla battler. Shahryar, on the other hand, seems to be more of a builder, but he still manages to have some really awesome skills, as not only does he have just a repainted version of the Seravee, but he can actually upgrade it. He actually built a model of the Ptolemaios, which was like the main gunship from Gundam 00, and it can actually dismantle and attach itself to the Seravee Gundam, making it even more powerful, allowing him to blast and destroy his enemies with one massive attack. It's actually 4 different beams which converge on one another and turn into like a giant rainbow Bifrost beam of destruction, which they use to take out their opponents, which are honestly kind of cool in this episode, I have to admit. And it may come as no surprise, but the two villains in this episode are actually mass divers. They're utilizing the illegal techniques to make their Gunpla stronger, and unlike before where they just get powered up and have an aura about them, this time their mobile suit actually transforms. It starts out as an upgraded version of the Zamdrag, but by the end of it, it becomes something that is completely unique, and I have to admit, pretty freaking awesome looking. It's red, it's black, it's got these 2 giant massive swords, which are very similar to what Sandrock uses in Gundam Wing, but ultimately this is kind of like a completely unique Gunpla, at least to me. I can't really pinpoint really what this thing is derived from, but for it to actually transform from the Zamdrag, I think is pretty freaking cool, but again, it doesn't really do anything, because when Shahryar comes in, he just absolutely waste them with one massive attack, and that's about it. It's unfortunate that we don't get to see Riku and his friends actually do anything with their Gunpla in this episode, but of course it's instrumental to the plot for the fact that they actually cannot bring their Gunpla to this place unless they reach a certain rank or if they have some sort of permission. But the episode essentially ends with Riku making brand new friends with Shahryar the Builder, who reveals himself and even wants to bring Riku into his fold to be a part of his builders. This is much to the ire of Tiger Wolf, who seems to have some sort of confrontation or rivalry with Shahryar, who suddenly arrives at the end of the episode, begging Riku to join his very own force, and that's when Riku decides, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. Me and my crew, we're going to come together and we're going to start our very own team, which honestly, it was expected, and I do like it. It shows that Riku is starting to show some independence, and he truly wants to learn to be his very own Gunpla battler. He doesn't want to necessarily be wholly influenced by everyone, he just wants to create his very own special brand, so to speak. And that's basically the end of the episode. So what's the rundown on this episode of Gundam Build Fighters? I have some issues with this episode. It's mostly superficial stuff, but it's stuff that actually kind of annoys me. One, at the beginning of the episode, all of the characters are walking around in the desert as they're making their way to this city, and they're complaining about how hard it is and how hot it is. The entire last episode was about the fact that they're not in the real world. They have no limitations. These guys could sprint to the city and probably not even get tired, but here they are, just acting as if they are that way. It's just a little strange after the last episode. Then there's the scene of Ayame being kidnapped. Now, Ayame is clearly teamed up with that one mysterious cloaked figure who has evil plans involving the masked divers, and it's very obvious that eventually she is going to come around and join the team, but she's going to have to be the damsel in distress first, which is kind of annoying considering she's a really cool character, and also for the fact that she's being kidnapped in a virtual world video game. Can she not just log out right there? Can she not just quit? Is there really nothing that she can do? Look at what Tiger Wolf can do. He can punch the ground and leave a massive crater. You're telling me this awesome-looking ninja girl can't actually escape from being tied up by ropes? I don't know, just something about it really rubbed me the wrong way, and that combined with the fact that this was just not a very action-heavy episode, and that some of the artwork and the animation just looked a little off at times. I don't know, maybe it's also the fact that the pacing has started to sort of go down to a halt. I understand that they're trying to do some world building, and that they're trying to introduce the main cast, but we are 5 episodes in. I'm ready for the main story at this point. I was ready in the first episode, to be perfectly honest. I knew everything that I needed to know about this world. It's Gunpla and Virtual Online. Boom! Let's just move ahead and get to the actual story. It's not terrible material, mind you. Everything I'm saying right now is nitpicking and it's all superficial, but when compared to some of the previous episodes that I've seen, it just didn't really live up to the hype, and kind of got me scared for what the rest of the series is going to deliver. But again, I'm in this for the long run. This could really just be a speed bump on the way to bigger and better things, and I really hope that we get there soon. That being said, if you're continuing to like Gundam Build Fighters, you're still going to like this episode. It's got everything that you could possibly want, which are tons of ridiculous callbacks, lots of really great mobile suits. I especially love how they acknowledge the original RX-78-2 Gundam, which is the original Gundam that was seen in the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, and they even acknowledge that it's an old model that can't necessarily move like the new ones, but it's still built really well, and they're able to acknowledge its beauty. You get to see everybody with their very own unique gunplas and everything, and if you're having fun looking for Patrick Colasar, guess what? You're going to find him in this episode. I believe he's like 9 minutes and 30 seconds in. You see him training with the monks at Tiger Wolf's place in Tora Buryu. So that's going to be something that I think is really fun, is just getting to see Patrick in every single episode, because it looks like they are going to try and hide him in a lot of different sequences. So that's definitely something fun to look forward to. As for the character of Shahryar, I don't really know how to judge the guy quite yet. To me, he's like a combination of Tiger Wolf and Maggie. Like, he's got the whole furry thing going on, but he's also obsessed with love and passion when it comes to Gunpla. He shows that off not only with his Seravee Gundam, but also in the fact that he takes the time to create this big diorama of all of these little bear guys, and he makes them all very distinctive with their own personalities and paint jobs and everything. It shows that he really cares about building, and while he might might not be the leader of the team that Riku's going to be involved in, I'm sure he's going to have a great influence on him as a builder, which is going to allow him to become a much better, stronger main character. That being said, just meh, that's really just the feeling that I got from this episode right here. You know, I did like the look of the enemy mobile suit, the red, the black, the giant swords. I love the look of the Seravee and combining with the ship from Gundam 00, and the giant beam of destruction was certainly cool, but it's nothing new. It's nothing that I haven't seen from the franchise yet, so I'm really hoping that after this one, we can really kick things into high gear. Even with that, though, and even with me basically being very negative, I'm going to give this episode right here a 4 out of 5. It's definitely worth your time if you're a fan of the franchise, and I highly recommend still checking it out. But really, this episode had some glaring problems, in my opinion. Again, most of those are very nitpicky, but it's still really entertaining, if anything, especially if you're a hardcore Gundam fan. So that's my thoughts on the episode. I'd love to get yours, though. Tell me all of them in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of Gundam Build Divers. Tell me what you thought about this episode, the introduction of Shahryar and his Seravee Gundam. Do you like the look of that one? What do you hope to see from the future of this season? Let's start a discussion down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome anime reviews. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.